Welcome to NSKN Games Small Talk. It's Kuba.
And Wally.
It's great to see you again, and now we're gonna move straight to the news. Alright, so let's start with the news. There are some great news and some even greater news. Let's start with the really big thing, and the festival in Cannes in France has just passed.
Yes.
And 2 games being honored by the Cannes Grand Prix. And it was, I mean, it has a French name, this award, but let's just call it Grand Prix for the sake of me not speaking French. And so the winners are Azul and Terraforming Mars in the advanced games category.
Yeah, the professional or advanced or...
Anyway,
Step up,
I think both games deserve it.
Oh yeah.
And so congrats to the makers, and you know, Terraforming Mars is just one of those games that you can't live without. I can't.
I think everyone has played Terraforming Mars right now.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point.
And if you haven't, play it.
Yeah,
and if you haven't played the expansions, play them. And if you have played the game and the expansions, play them again, because it's great.
Yeah.
Next news is that Wojciech here, who's the author of the whole Mistfall universe, and has created the last game we published was Chronicles of Frost, and he's already started working on another one.
Yes, Chronicles of Flame. It's going to be the next game in the series right now. Right now, it's still, you know, a bit early to talk specific terms or specific dates or specific deadlines, but the work is slowly moving forward, and if everything goes well, there will be some nice surprises in the game. Plus, of course, as always, more heroes, more villains, and more stuff to do.
So it's gonna be a bit of a twin game that can be mixed with Chronicles of Frost, yeah?
Well, definitely you'll be able to add everything together. But as for the details...
Don't tell them anything more.
Exactly.
Okay, next thing is that there's gonna be some great licensed games out there, and one of them is Gale Force 9 has acquired the license for the Aliens universe, which is the best universe ever. And
according to this guy.
If you don't agree, then do agree, because it's the best universe ever. And so they're going to do a miniatures game, and probably more games are coming. So I'm really looking forward to play them. I mean, I don't have to know a single thing about them. I'm gonna buy them anyway.
I'm gonna tell you one thing about them. It looks like it's gonna be cooperative.
Well, you know, Legendary Encounters are cooperative as well, and the Alien version is great. So
Kuba doesn't really love cooperative games. So
they're
it's a
not
bit
really
of
games. They're not games. Okay. But there is also Harry Potter miniature game coming. It's coming, I think, to Kickstarter in March.
Yes, it's coming to Kickstarter. I don't know exactly if it's coming.
I think it's mid-March.
But yeah. Anyway, it's from Night Models, if I remember the name correctly, and we know nothing about it. Most people know pretty much nothing about it. But it's going to be Harry Potter, and it's going to probably have a tiny Harry, and it's going to have a tiny Hermione, and it's going to have
a tiny Ron.
Do you think it's going to have a tiny Voldemort?
You can't say his name out loud!
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry for him, he's just new to the thing. Okay, anyway, do you know Hobby World from Russia?
I do.
Great. Do you know any other publishers from there?
Yes, maybe. I do, yes.
Well, because there is a game from one of the Russian publishers that is not Hobby World, that we are going to publish. And that's for this moment, this is absolutely everything I can tell you, not much more, but the game's gonna be great, and it's gonna come to the American market probably by the end of this year or beginning of the next year, and we're gonna tell you more in one of the next episodes, so, you know, watch out for that.
I can tell you one more thing, it's really cool.
Oh yes, it is, and it's like an open draft game. Okay, last thing, but not least, it's GAMA. We're going to GAMA in Reno, and I'm gonna be there, and we're gonna be showing some great games from NSKN and Survey Studio. We're gonna be showing Scarit. We already have it produced, and is this little marvelous 10-minute, 15-minute game that is like a set disc collection kind of thing.
Something like that, yes.
It's a beauty.
The important thing is it plays very quickly, and you can play from 1
To 8?
To 8 players.
Yeah,
1 to 8
super
players.
fun.
You can play in
Scary.
teams. You can play against each other. This little box has so much game in it. It's really incredible.
Yeah, this is Strawberry Studio, and I'm gonna show that. I will be also showing Dragon's Gate College, obviously, because it's already on the American market. But I'm gonna also show to whoever wants to have a peek at 2 prototypes that are going to the market in fall this year from NSKN. And it's gonna be this big box of Teotihuacan, City of Gods, which is Daniele Tascini's game. And it's like worker placement, kinda...
well, I don't know if it's really worker placement.
Worker movement.
Worker movement, yes. So because you have a number of boards that you set up randomly around the main board, and this is where your workers will be moving as you play. So it'll change every time you play, with just one of those boards having more or less a certain position it needs to take. Mostly for aesthetic reasons.
It uses kind of same theme as the previous Daniele's game, Solkin, that you might heard of. And well, it's a proper Euro game that will take about 90 to 120 minutes to play, from 2 to 4 players. Proper heavy Euro, and it's gonna be big this fall.
It's so good.
Plus, I'm gonna also show you Dice Settlers, which is a game that we'll talk a bit more in the next part of our vidcast, which is Talk of the Week. Talk of the Week is obviously Dice Settlers, which is a game that we are launching on Kickstarter on Tuesday, 27th of February. The campaign will take more or less 3 weeks, and you can find a brilliant game there that's been designed by one and only David Turci, and you know him from the games like Anachrony or Days of Fire, or the expansion, the late expansion for Tashkalar. So a great man, a great design, and it's been also illustrated by
the Miko himself. So you might know him from all of the Valeria series games, the Raiders, Shipwrights and so on of the North Sea, Rise to Nobility, Robin Hood, I think so. You probably know him, and
if you do not, go to the campaign page starting Tuesday 27th and check the game out. You might like both the design of the game and the art as well. And what is the game about?
Well, in essence, it is a 4X game, and it is a dice-based game as well, which means that you will be building a bag of custom dice, and we're gonna get back to the dice and the components in a moment. You will be building a bag of custom dice, drawing those dice, rolling them. There are multiple ways to influence what you roll, and after you've rolled them, you will perform 2 actions, and among those actions you'll find everything that a 4X game should have.
Because it's a 4X game.
It is a 4X game. So you're going to...
But it does not take place in space, does it?
No, it does not take place in space. It takes place in a new land.
Somewhere.
Basically, somewhere in the new land, where you're going to be starting from humble beginnings and then building a nation. And what you will be doing is you will be adding new hexagonal shaped tiles to the board. So you'll be building the board. This is the exploration part. You're going to exploit the new lands that you're on. You're going to expand both in terms of the lands, but also you will be able to develop technologies, and there are a lot of technologies in the game, but you will be using only a certain number every
I think there are like 50?
Yes, there are around 50 technologies, and you will be using 9 of them each game, so each game will be different that way. And you will also sometimes be raiding other players, which is basically getting rid of their markers from the board and putting yours.
Which is the extermination part.
Yeah, this is the extermination part. So you're getting all of those elements into one game that lasts about 60 to 90 minutes, and honestly is a lot of fun.
Yeah, the game plays from 2 to 4 players, although I know that David is already working on a solo mode, so depending on how the campaign goes, we might even have a solo mode in the game as well, so it will be playable from 1 to 4.
Yes.
And well, it's brilliant. I mean, I know that I shouldn't probably say that about the game that we publish.
Okay, so let's give some facts then. So, firstly, the game will come in two versions. One is the basic version, the retail version, and then another one is the deluxe edition. Both of these will come with 50 dice, 50 custom dice.
Yep.
What kind of dice are these? Well, these are dice with full color images, also by the Miko. On the dice, all of this is varnished. And
Like printed on.
Printed on and varnished, and they are very high quality, and they are very much like certain dice you might see in a certain very popular collectible game. So they will be very...
You think we shouldn't say Star Wars Destiny out loud?
They're going to be similar. So they're going to be high quality dice, nice chunky dice, and you're getting 50 of them. Apart from that, every copy of the game will also come with all of the technologies, all of the tiles, all of the things you obviously need to play. However, the retail version comes with resources in forms of tokens, whereas the deluxe edition comes with tiny resource tokens that look like logs and that look like gold and pumpkins, food, and so on. Now,
they're really nice.
The important thing is also that when you're getting the deluxe edition, you're getting both sets of components. So if for any reason you want to sometimes switch them out, that's absolutely the way to go. Also, the deluxe edition comes with crystals for VP. Whereas again, these are tokens in the base game, and there are also a few other minor improvements. But again, you can choose between one of those two versions as you pledge for the game.
I have to tell you also that we have many crazy ideas where it comes to stretch goals.
Well, Kuba says they're crazy.
I think they're like crazy. I mean, I've never seen games being infused with so many cool looking components, and it's just crazy.
Well, it is in a way crazy, but also it isn't crazy because we're thinking about stretch goals, we're thinking about planning them the right way. We're not putting anything, as always, that would delay the game or make it... Well, you know us. If you've pledged for anything, we have you.
And if you haven't pledged for anything with us, then we're like never late. We deliver great games on time, we deliver great games with great quality components, and we have really good customer service. So if you miss anything, then you just write to us, we send it to you, we don't make a big fuss about that.
That being said, indeed the list is a bit crazy in the sense that it's crazy good in what we have planned for stretch goals. One thing for certain, you can definitely expect more technologies, but also other things and also other upgrades.
There is also one very important thing. There is no mechanic difference between the retail and deluxe edition. So whatever you decide for, you will get the full game. Of course, if you go for the deluxe edition, it will look astonishingly great. If you go for the retail edition, it will just look great, which is still great, right?
But both of them will play equally well.
Yeah, they're like both the same game. The deluxe edition just looks great, amazingly great. And so we're not like kind of trying to rob anybody of any parts of the game. You'll still have the same fun.
No, this is an important rule. We don't really want to alienate anyone who is not there for the Kickstarter. You will, if you go for the deluxe edition, you're gonna get a game that looks much better, but gameplay-wise, we're not locking anything away from everyone else, and this is a rule we've always followed, and we're gonna follow this with this project as well.
And if you don't want to, take our word for the thing, how good the game is, and I'm not really surprised, we're the publishers, right? And then we will have reviews from Rado, from Slicker Drips, from Dice Tower. So as soon as they're online, we'll put them down below this video, and they of course will be in the project as well. And the link to the project will be below this video as well.
If you're watching this when the project is already launched, then you can simply go down to the doobly-doo and look for the direct link to the project, which has everything including those reviews and playthroughs, so you will be able to see how the game plays, and you will be able to see what some people think about the
As you can see, we're really excited about this project and this particular game, and I can only say that I'm a geek, I'm a player, and I highly recommend you do just at least have a look at the game, because if you like filled with emotions, fast-paced games with plenty of decisions to make that still plays in reasonable time, and gives you great illustrations and dice settlers, is something that you should just at least look at.
And you get to roll those nice dice. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
I think so.
And we can move to the great games we played.
Welcome to Great Games We Played. So, some really cool games we played between now and the time we last published a small talk video. And this is the segment where we talk about 3 games per person.
Yep, 3 games is more than enough, I think.
Right. So my first game is a game that I was so surprised to get. I mean, it's okay. It's Dice Throne. So. It's a game where you play a version of Yahtzee, which is like where you get your own character and you get a set of skills for that character, and you get a little deck of cards and you draw them, and these are like special maneuvers, or some of them are upgrades to your skills, and you get 5 dice which you roll Yahtzee style. Those dice have both numbers and special symbols. You roll them once, then you can re-roll up to twice, and then you look for something on your player board that you can use to hit your opponent over the head with.
Wait, but you said Yahtzee style. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, that's the thing. For some reason I wasn't. I mean, I got the game mostly because I wanted to see it.
Okay.
And it turns out that it's incredibly cool. I mean, you get 6 characters which are very different from each other. They play very differently, and you get cards which can change the dice you roll, or you can manipulate them a little bit, and you get upgrade cards, and it's kind of difficult to roll in such a way that you're not getting something significant every turn, because your board is filled with abilities, and like I said, characters which play so differently. It's amazing how fun this game is.
Okay. I want to talk about a game by Dever, and I just want to tell you that I do not hate cooperative games. Some cooperative games are okay, and one of these games is Fast Food Fear, which is a brilliant, fun and fast game when you're trying to feed the monsters that show up in a line, and you're just trying to communicate with the rest of the team around the table, manipulating with the cards that you guys have in hand. You can either, when it's your turn, you can either feed the monster or play some card, or just discard a card. But the whole thing is that there is a timer, there is a sand going down, and when it's out, you're done, you lost. So you're trying to manipulate the hourglass as well, and it's a fun party cooperative game that plays in 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and there is so much talk, and so much interaction between the players and the game. There is you can change the difficulty level of the game, and I loved it. I mean, it was super fun, even though it was cooperative, and if you're looking for a game that you can introduce, like a proper gateway game for people that do not play board games normally, I think that Fast Food Fear would be one of your best choices.
And speaking of almost gateway games, one of my games is Ethnos from Simon. So Ethnos is, in a way, what Ticket to Ride. I mean, it's a Ticket to Ride, only instead of building routes, you get to build. You get to fight for majorities in different areas. So it's an area control game. It's illustrated by Alan Howe, which is kind of something after my own heart, and I think anyone who, for example, likes Tolkien knows that name, and you will be immediately enchanted by how the game looks. What you do is there is a bit of a set collection, because there are cards you will be drawing every turn, and from time to time you will be playing a number of those cards. The cards here represent different peoples that come to this land you will be fighting over. And as you play them as warbands, so you either play cards of the same color or of the same species. You put them in front of you and you are able to put some tokens in the spaces in that land. But the fun thing about the game is that every species has their own special ability. And the game comes with a number of different species, so you'll never play with all of them. You always play with about half, I think, of what you get in the box. And every species comes with their own little rules, so depending on what cards you're playing, you'll be putting that token, in most cases, and doing something else as well. And the gameplay is fast. You play 3 or 2 big rounds, depending on the number of players. You score points at the end of every round. And it's pretty incredible in how fast it plays, how easy it is to play, and you know, also in its looks, in its feel. It's a very good game.
Okay, so let's move from the gateway games to games that used to be gateways, but are not anymore. We've used expansions. I'm not a big fan of expansions in general, at least when it comes to Euro games, because I believe that a Euro game usually is, you know, like a complete design, and you don't really need the expansions because they could just change the balance in a way that I would not like it. But Cacao with all the expansions possible. I played it lately with chocolate, diamonds, 2 sets of huts from 2 consecutive years of the Advent calendar, and the volcanoes that were included in one of the versions of the chocolate expansion. So all in all, with all these expansions, playing a 2-player game is a super cutthroat Euro that where every point counts, and it became, I always treated Cacao like, you know, this kind of Carcassonne substitute kind of game, but no, with all the expansions it becomes a real engine making kind of heavy Euro, well, medium heavy maybe. And I just believe that what they did with all these expansions, and they just made the game right how it was supposed to be from the very beginning. And for me, Cacao with the expansions now moves up really high in my personal ranking.
It's an interesting way to create a gateway game and then make it a not gateway game through, you know, people buy it, get a gateway game, get a simple game, and then it builds up and up and up.
They get educated basically.
Yeah, you're done. When you're done, you get a full deep Euro game. My final game is far from Euro games. It's Dragonfire. I'm a bit late to the table with that game, mostly because I was never a fan of Shadowrun Crossfire. And basically, Dragonfire is the Dungeons and Dragons version of Crossfire, a cooperative card game that was published, I think, 2 years ago, and I didn't really fall in love with it. Dragonfire, although sharing pretty much all of the mechanisms with Crossfire, really landed well on our tables. But the thing is, we had a lot of fun. The first time we sat down to play it, we played it. We played 3 or 4 missions, or in this case, quests, and it's a game, you know, where you get your own character, where you get your own little deck. It's deck building, so you will be buying cards during the game, doing specific things for the mission, trying to deal with encounters by playing cards which have symbols. You basically need to create you need to go through a track of different symbols on a card, and you generate those symbols by playing cards, but cards also have their own special abilities. All of this is now steeped in let's say Dungeons and Dragons lore, and you can get some more adventures right off the bat, and what is quite important, you also get some cool loot which you are able to keep from game to game. Now, if you like classic fantasy and you like deck building, and there is one more thing you have to like a little bit, the idea of a grind in a game, because you will be sometimes doing the same scenario a few times just to get some more experience points so that your characters can level up. It's probably something that you're going to like a lot. Again, a cooperative game, a fantasy game, so and a game that already has one game in the system, but so if you like Shadowrun Crossfire, you will probably love this one. If you didn't like Shadowrun Crossfire that much, as I didn't enjoy it, just give it a try still, because it's a slightly different experience, and to me at least, a much better one.
So my last game would be a proper Euro from DLP / Dicey Mystery Games, and it's a game that I discovered I think 2 or 3 years ago. It's called Citrus. That's how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Citrus. Citrus is quite a dry Euro where you basically build up plantations of different fruits on the board, and it's kind of area control because you're trying to surround huts that give you points and trying to build up your plantations so that they give you more and more points. You still have to manage the resources you use for that and the workers that you use to mark your plantations with, but it scales really well from 2 to 5 players, and I played it lately with a little expansion from one of the advent calendars from back in the day, and well, Citrus is a game that comes to my table every half a year probably. I don't play it very often, and every time I do play it, I really wish I played it more often because it's one of those perfectly designed Euros where you know that every single move you make matters, and that when you win the game, you know that you did it because either you simply made least mistakes or the others made more. And I just love games like that play in 60 minutes and let exercise your brains to the very limit. So if you haven't played Citrus yet, to give it a try because it's a great Euro.
Yeah, it is actually.
It is. And now we're gonna move to the Hidden Peril. Hidden Peril is this part of our vidcast when we're trying to cast some light on the games we deserve, we think deserve more, spotlight basically. And from last session, from the previous session, we brought a game from Hobby World, a Russian publisher, that is called Barbaria, and it's a pretty cool dice roller actually. It's a game where you push your luck a little bit. You become a barbarian warrior and you're trying to get a set of runes, and those runes come on some cards. And during your turn you draw some of the cards, you draw some cards, and when you decide that this is the encounter I want to take it, you roll dice, you manipulate those dice, and if you manage to get the encounter, you take the card in, but also all of the cards that you drew before that are then given to other players, including you if you drew enough of those cards, and become extra special abilities which you can use. Yeah, when I opened the box, I first saw a card and I thought, oh my god, this is so sexist, because you have, an almost naked lady in bikini kind of style, the warrior lady in, bikini chainmail. This is like so 1980s. And so I looked at that and thought, oh, they did it wrong.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the next card, which is a barbarian warrior, a guy in a bikini chainmail. So, and then I thought, okay, this is just brilliant. I mean, they made fun out of all these, sexist stereotypes, basically putting both female and male warriors in those ridiculous armors, and this is just super fun.
Apparently there's a dress code in Barbaria, and the dress code applies to everyone.
To all sexes, and well, I absolutely, bow to the designers of the game, because this is just such a fun idea to just, because there are games where you get that kind of imbalance between the
double standards,
yes, for clothing for girls and guys, and I really don't like that. I mean, I just think it's not fair, and it's maybe not anti-feministic, but it's just anti-girls. And I have a daughter, I have a wife. I don't like them to being, put in a situation like that when they have to look at semi-naked girls and heavily armored guys.
On that topic though, there are a lot of semi-naked girls and guys in the game, so
which is fun,
but perhaps it's not exactly a family game when it comes to how it looks.
Although it shows that if you stick to a standard, you should stick to it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when it comes to the mechanisms themselves, it's not a very deep game. It's just a game where you get to roll some dice, you get to manipulate them, so it's not just rolling, but there is a little bit of you know, thinking involved with the game. However, for some it will probably work great as a convention game, and there is a lot of stand-up rolls, there is a lot of shouting around the table, there is a lot of pretending to be a barbarian from the north with a vaguely Austrian accent, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of that with the game.
And so the author of the game is Peter Rustemeyer, and well, Mr. Rustemeyer, the game is really great, and congrats to you, and you people should look out for...
If you like rolling dice, if you like light-hearted themes, if you like this...
It's a party game?
It's not exactly a party game.
But it's like a con game.
But it's a little bit of a convention game, or a very energetic filler in between heavier games. Altogether, pretty cool.
It plays from 2 to 4. I played it with 3 people, and I loved it. And it plays in 50 to 30 minutes. On the box it says from 16 years old up. I guess that's because of those illustrations.
Yeah, and I'd say that
but the game is quite simple.
Yes.
So there are no heavy rolls in here, and it's fun. So Barbaria is our hidden pearl. And with that, we'd like to say goodbye. And we hope that you're gonna watch us in a fortnight. And in the meantime, go to the Kickstarter Dice Settlers campaign, back us, and enjoy the game in the fall when it comes. And see you soon.
See you soon.